Hey, what's going on? What's cooking? Good looking? What's happening, Captain? If you've been listening to the podcast and watching and listening to these bad boys back to back to back, well, welcome back to another episode. So glad to see you again. Now, if you are a long-time listener, you've been following live as he's been created and documented, and you're wondering, well, it's been a while since the last episode. What happened? Well, we have some catching up to do. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the Red Velvet Podcast. I'm your host with the most, Pablo J. Rosario, and a lot's going on. A lot's going on. Like I said, if you have been watching these and listening to these live, you've been listening to them back to back to back, and you just joined us on this adventure, then don't worry about it. This is just another continuation. But if you're one of the OGs, one of the people that have been listening live from episode 1 as these things are being documented and created, you will have noticed that it's been a minute since I put out an episode. And that's because a lot has happened. I mean, as you can tell, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can tell from the background. And also, if you're very observant, there are some hints within this image that tells you of the changes. I'm not going to let you know. You have to message me and find out. But lots of things have been going on. Lots of personal stuff in my personal life. Some would consider, I don't want to say bad, because I'm always of the belief that, and you never know when it works out for you. That's something my dad would always say, that you never know when it's better. In the hindsight, things always work out the way they should. In the moment, they may suck, but you take these things and you realize that, what is actually for the better, because something better can come out of this. And so don't worry about that. That is something I'm going to spill over the upcoming episodes. I'm going to keep you up to date, because over that time, here's the thing, I learned a whole lot of great things that's changed my perspective on a lot of things. Like, for example, the whole masculinity, alpha male stuff. Nah, I still feel the same way about the alpha male stuff. I still feel that's still bullshit. But my take on masculinity, that whole thing, has switched up a bit. And so I'm going to be sharing stuff about that. I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on success, on victory. I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on also dynamics with women. I have new perspectives, currently. And also I have something very beautiful for my guys out there that are in a dark place, that are trying to rebuild their life. I have lots of great things coming up for you. Now, this episode I wanted to do. I originally wasn't going to do it, but I wanted to do it because I more want to do this for me. A lot of the stuff that I do, it's really more to speak to myself. These are advice and things and lessons that I'm actually learning in real time, and I'm actually doing it to teach myself. And I figured, what? Let me share it with the guys. Let me share it with you, because you might get something out of it. You may blossom and you may benefit from the lessons that I have, and it might spark a breakthrough with yourself. I mean, quick side story. I'll give you a quick example of what you're about to get in the upcoming year. So last week I was out dancing salsa, and I was dancing with a woman. I know her, she's cool peoples and everything, but for some reason I was just messing up. And she was going, Pablo, you have to lead me. I don't know what you're doing. And then all of a sudden, I felt inside of me, I felt shame. And then I asked myself, I was like, hold up a second. Do I feel like a little boy right now, or like a man? And the answer is, I felt like a little boy in that moment. And so I learned from that lesson. And again, I'm going to dive into that lesson in another episode. But long story short, I learned from that lesson. I realized where I was. And I realized that actually, the man in me can handle this situation, can handle messing up, and can fix this. And I relayed that lesson to a client of mine. And then instantly that client was like, holy shit, like, this makes so much more sense now. Now, I don't know why I was freaking out before, because now I get it. And so I tell that story as an example of the journey I've been on these last 6 months or so. And I just want to let you know that you got a lot of good stuff coming your way. And together, I'm going to take you to new heights, make you a bigger and better man. But back to this episode, the reason why I wanted to make this was really more as a promise kept to myself. Because in starting this podcast, one of the things that was super important to me was to be consistent. And I beat myself up when I'm not consistent, because then I make these stories in my head that I suck, I'm not good enough, that I'm a fraud, and I'm just, I'm bullshitting. And that is, and the way I try to beat back that story is by being consistent. And over the time, I've learned what true consistency looks like. Because for me, I was an all or nothing type of guy. Like, I'm going 7 days a week, I'm going hard, or it doesn't count at all. But I've learned to apply grace. I've learned to apply compassion, which I recommend for you. I know you're a high achiever. If you're listening to this, I know you have high expectations of yourself and high standards of yourself, which is fantastic. Keep those and make sure they keep driving you. I just want you to couple that with, and by the way, if you hear stuff in the backgrounds, because, well, I'm outside, I wanted to try something new, so hopefully everything sounds okay. But I want you to couple that with grace and compassion. Allow space for your humanity. Because yes, we want to be as close to perfect as possible. At the same time, perfection, unreachable. No human on planet Earth has ever done this except one person. His name was Jesus Christ. Okay, and so other than that, like it's impossible for us. And also, we have to. When I say make space for your humanity, it also means making space for you to fail, for you to accept your faults and give yourself that compassion, that grace. You know what I'm saying? Because we beat ourselves up way too much. A lot of the stress that we have is self-imposed from these crazy standards that we impose on ourselves. That, by the way, I guarantee if you break them down and I ask you, hey, where did this come from? Where did you learn this? I'll bet you all the money in the world that those standards are not even yours. They were passed down by somebody else and you adopted them. And you unknowingly took them on as an adult, and now you're living your life stressing the fuck out. So that's why I say you have to allow yourself like that compassion, that grace. And so going back to this whole thing about consistency, I did it. And I'm doing this more for myself. More as like a promise to myself to say like, Pop, I see you. I made this promise to you. And this just shows that like I'm here for you. And and this is just a declaration that it's not how you start, it's how you finish. So yes, my first half of the year was okay, and then my second half of the year was bleh, like it would suck. Okay, it would suck by my standards. I mean, people would say like if you knew the story, you would say, Pablo, take it easy on yourself. But for me, it was like bleh. However, though, they can't say nothing. Now on the last day, I did my thing. I'm like, you know what? I showed up today. So fuck it. At least I did this. And so what I wanted to do with this specific podcast is I wanted to reflect on the year. I figure, it's the best time to do that, to reflect on what we've done, what we can do different moving forward. And these are the processes that I run myself through. And every year is different. Sometimes I find questions and exercises to help me think differently, to help me think alternatively, But and this year I found a set of questions from an Instagram account. I'm sorry, I forget the account right now, but I was like, these are fantastic questions and I want to share them. And I'm going to run through them. And as I go through them, I want you as well to reflect on these questions before this year ends. Or even if you do listen to it, whenever you do listen to it, it's never like you don't have to wait till the new year to make a change. The new year is an arbitrary time of the year, just a random date on the calendar. You can literally start whenever you listen to this. So, which you should. Whenever you listen to this, make those changes now. And so I'm going to run through 5 questions for 2025 to think about this past year, to make changes, to make the next year, the next 365 moving forward great. And so let's get into it. So the first question that I have here is, if you repeat the habits you did yesterday every day for a year, where would you end up? I'll read it again. If you repeat the habits you did yesterday every day for a year, where would you end up? Now, this takes some serious self-reflection and like some honesty, because for me, I would end up in the same place I am now. Not to say like I'm bad, but I'd be in the same frustrated place that I am, because I have these dreams and stuff that I wanted to accomplish, and I didn't accomplish them this year. And I would be in the same place of frustration. Like, there's nothing more frustrating me than untapped potential, than unused potential, of regret, of saying, damn, I was so capable of more and I didn't do it. I didn't use it because I was lazy, because I was distracted. And so that is something to think about. Simple as that. If I repeated the same habits that I did for a year straight, I'm not getting anywhere. The red velvet movement would not grow. People wouldn't get help. You wouldn't get help. Or matter of fact, people that you know wouldn't get help. And then the world will continue on with just this dumbass shit that's being spewed to men out there. And not only that, I would be so disappointed in myself. Simple as that. I would be so disappointed in myself because of the unused potential. So, next question, number 2. If your future self met you today, would they thank you or resent you? Ooh. If your future self met you today, would they thank you or resent you? For me, I would say thank me. Little bit like frustrated, like, yo, get your shit together. But for the most part, thank you, because the later part of the year, which again I'll share in future podcasts, I went through some personal stuff, in which it was very easy to continue going down the spiral in which I was in. It was very easy, but it really takes something to say, you know what, I'm gonna get up again. I'm gonna reach out for help. I'm gonna pick myself back up. And I think that is one of the most courageous and strongest things you can do than actually like achieving any goal. It's just the ability to say, I'm going to pick myself up again. I'm going to reach out for help. And so I would say that my future self would thank me. And so that's what I would say. Next, what dream have you given up on that you still want? Oh man, I'm gonna be honest with you. In the later part of the year, I was like this close. I was so close to giving up on the red velvet dream, on the dream of helping create a world where men are freed from their insecurities, from their doubts, and they are that awesome guy, that confident, charismatic, magnetic guy that they see in their head. And I almost gave up on that dream. I almost gave up on that dream for a number of reasons. Again, I'll get into it, but the short version of it is I was uninspired. I wasn't seeing the fruits of the labor or the vision that I had. And I was thinking, what's the point? Like, you know what? Maybe it's easier just to do this other thing and just, coast that way and just use the skills that I've gained and be a big fish in a small pond. And so I almost gave up on it, but I did not for a number of reasons. One, I'm a very big believer in God. And I'm very believer in how we get talked to, and you can not believe in God, you can believe in the universe, whatever it is, but I do believe that, we're talked to, and I believe that, fate, if you will, whatever you want to call it, whispers to us, and they whisper like, hey, this is direction that you're meant to go. This is for you. And I've been getting those whispers louder and louder and louder and louder. And recently, one of my clients, shout out to Suppin, recently got engaged. And he got engaged in the most beautiful way. And only the way that a red velvet guy can do it. Like, it was beautiful. He had the whole setup. He had the whole marry me sign. He had a secret photographer. Him and his lady looking beautiful and happy. And, it just reminded me like that is what I want. That's what I want for my guys. That's what I want for you. I want you to be that happy, to be the fullest version of yourself and reap the rewards of that life, of having a woman that knocks your socks off. Like, I'm not talking about not only that she's sexy, but she loves you. She speaks to the king in you. Not only that, you're dressed well, you're feeling full confident. You feel, you're stepping to your whole self again. Like, that is the dream that I have. That is, because like in my heart, that is the dream that I had. That I don't want guys to give up. I don't want guys to be like, well, this is not meant for me. That's not what I want. I want a world where you get what you dream about, because it is your birthright. It is what you are heir to. You know how like you're heir to the throne? You know how like you're heir to things? Like, that's what you are heir to. You don't understand. That is my dream. And I almost gave up on that, but I was reminded of it in the purpose. And granted, I'm gonna be 100% honest. This ain't like the movies where all of a sudden I have this surge of inspiration, because truth be told, I still don't feel like it. But I've decided to take action despite not feeling inspired, despite not feeling like it. And I'm going to let it take me where it's going to take me. Instead of just depending on how I feel, whether or not, like, okay, I got the vision. Like, no, just take action in line with the vision. So that was a dream I almost gave up on. What is a dream that you have given up on that you want to pick back up? Let's go on to, let's see here, number four. Number four, what is the most important thing you've been procrastinating? Let's start over. What is the most important thing that you have been procrastinating on for too long? And you know what it is. You know what it is. In the back of your mind, you know what it is. Either you have to give up on something, like you have to give something up that's not helping you, or maybe it's something that you should start doing, something that you need to be doing, maybe something that you need to say, but you know what it is. For me, the most important thing that I've been procrastinating on, it is, I think it is realizing I'm not a dating coach. Like, between you and I, to the rest of the world, when people ask me what I do, like, yeah, I'm a dating coach for men. Keep it nice and simple. But in looking back over the last few months and years and the clients I've worked with and the feedback that I've gotten, I think it's just, I think I've been procrastinating on, letting go the idea of being a dating coach, and procrastinating on stepping into what I feel what I really am, which is simply a transformation coach. A men's coach, a men's transformation coach. Yeah, a men's transformation coach. Because every time I talk about it to myself, to other people, I don't talk about like, oh, like what do I help guys do? I don't say help them get relationships, help them get dates, because that doesn't resonate with me. The thing that lights me on fire is every time I say, it's like, I turn men into I turn men into attractive, charismatic, confident, magnetic men. Like, that's what I do. I help them become the charismatic, confident, attractive version of themselves. And that's really more speaks to the personal transformation of the individual, rather than getting women or anything like that. Because getting women, that's a byproduct of all that. And so I think that's something I've been procrastinating on too long. And it's because I've been nervous about, like, okay, well, how people are going to identify me. How am I going to stand out? Does that make sense to the average person? Hey, I'm a men's transformation coach. And it may or may not make sense, but it's something I'll workshop. But here's one thing that I do know, and that is that, like, for the people that get it, like my tribe, like, it resonates with them. It's funny, I recently finished working with this one client, and he's from Canada, fantastic guy. I love this guy to death. His vocabulary is off the roof. It's off the chain. Like, I was so impressed with his vocabulary. When we first started work together, he really didn't believe in himself. He, didn't see, had trouble seeing the worth that he had. And, we've worked together from that to being so awesome, where now he stands up at work. His relationship with his coworkers are 10 times better. Now, a good friend of his actually bought him a $1,200 ticket to WrestleMania, because he's been so awesome, because of the way he is. Like, this client of mine got a $1,200 ticket bought for him, which was never been done before. And I asked him, I was like, hey, I'm just curious, like, what is it that had you reach out, that wanted you to have us work together? Like, what was the problem? And he was like, it wasn't really like getting women. Of course, that's something I wanted to work on, but really it was more about just feeling comfortable in my own skin, and, feeling okay to be me. And that's exactly what we did. That's exactly what we did over the 6 months. We just help him be confident, help him see the gold that's within him, that was already within him, and help him bring that out, help him embrace that. And so, to answer this question, at least for me, what is the most important thing I've been procrastinating on for too long? It's just stepping into who I really am. And I think I would ask you the same thing. What have you been procrastinating on? Or maybe, who are you really? Like, who do you put out to the world? Who you try to be because of ego? And who are you really? And lastly, we're going to end with number 5, which is this. What's one decision you've been avoiding because it feels too uncomfortable? And for me, it would have to be giving up my distractions. So I have my distractions that have been fucking me up this year. I admit it. This year was not the way I wanted it to be. Partly because of personal stuff, but also partly because of my distractions and me giving into them. And I sat down, thought about, why I just don't give them up. But the true answer is because of this. This between you and I, we're going to be honest here. This is how we grow. This is what this podcast is about. So the honest answer, this is a conversation I have with myself. I ask myself, Pablo, why don't you give these things up? And the answer that came back was because this is the only thing that's going good for me in my life. This is the only thing that brings me joy right now. This is the only good thing I got going for me right now. And I was like, damn, like that's something to look at. Like if these distractions are the only good thing I have going for me right now, then I got some things I got to take a look at. And I asked myself, like, well, why don't you, get rid of them or decrease them? And because they were actually my source of comfort and escape from the pressures I was dealing with. That's really what they were. And I felt like if I gave them up, then I had no way to deal with the pressures of life. And by the way, it's not cocaine, like nothing serious like that. I'm just like, I'm not out here freaking doing meth or anything like that. Freaking doing anything wild shit like that. But it was like, the thought process was that if I gave them up, then I wouldn't have a way to deal with what I'm going through right now. And so now that, thought something, that brought up something to me, and I started to think, well, there lies the challenge. There lies the work. Joseph Campbell had a great quote that says, it was Carl Jung, I believe, and I'm definitely misquoting here, but essentially is, the gist of it is that, like, where the struggle is the work. That's where the work is. And so for me, the uncomfortableness that I'm running away from, that I'm refusing to deal with, that's where the work is. And so, I think this year, not I think, but I know we're going to have to deal with that. If we want to grow, if we want to be great, I got to face it. I got to deal with it. I got to get better. Because, one thing is that challenges in life are not to break you down. That's one thing I've learned, that challenges in life are not to beat you down, not to be a pain in the ass, not to fuck up your plan or anything like that. But they're meant to mold you. That's their purpose. To mold you, to make you sharper, to make you better. And that's one thing I realized about life, especially in 2024, is that, to try to create a life without problems is freaking stupid. It's impossible. It's freaking impossible. It's like trying to live a life without seeing the sun, okay? Like, unless you're locked in a basement, like, it's impossible, okay? Trying to stop the sun from rising. That is part of the life. It's what comes with the territory of being human. And so you have a couple options. You can either A, try to avoid it, but you ain't gonna outrun them. They're gonna catch you one way or another. You can B, try to numb yourself, try to block away from them, but guess what? It only makes things worse. Or C, you can let them overtake you and be like, oh man, my problems suck, my problem's too hard, and this is just the way life is. Or D, you can look at them differently and see them as a gift. See them for what they really are, their purpose, which is to make you better. That is how, like, that's one of the secrets of life. Like, if I can give you a book of life, and I wish we would have gotten this when we came to this world, but I guarantee you, if freaking like the laws of physics in the universe were written down in a book, and that's my mom right there. And so, yeah, you're hearing it right now, where she just passed through the screen. Hi, Mom. Have a good day, Mom. I love you. All right. And so if I can tell you, like, one of the rules of life, listen to me when I say this, that 1, problems are unavoidable. 2, problems are not a bad thing. They are good, because their purpose is not to bring you down, it's not to slow you down, but their purpose is to make you better. It's through challenges in which we grow, challenges in which we develop. I mean, think about it. Every time you've gotten better at something, it wasn't because it just came smoothly. It's because you learned and you overcame. And the way I think about it is like getting molded, right? You know how, like, a blacksmith is making a sword, and it has and then it has to go through the fire, the heat, and it has to be bang, bam, 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 to be sharp, to be molded. That's what happens. That's how you become better. And so, if I had to say, and maybe, I'm speaking to Pablo right now, because a lot of times when I talk, it's really to speak to myself. And a lot of times when we do give advice, it's really for ourselves. I would say this, that 2024, the biggest lesson is that problems and challenges are not bad. They're meant to make you better. They are meant to mold you. That's their purpose. So anytime a problem comes around, good. And this has come from Jocko Willink. It's like, you should look at him on YouTube. His name is a Navy. He's a Marine, Navy SEAL, I believe, and he has this philosophy called good. His name is Jocko Willink. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. But good. Something bad happens, good. Reason why is good because that means you have an opportunity to do something. Your girlfriend dumped you, good. Because now you have an opportunity to get better. You have an opportunity to focus on yourself. You have an opportunity to heal and work on the things you didn't know before because now she showed you where your blind spots are. Good. Now you know what you need to work on. Good. Now you have time to get better, get stronger, get your money up, get your life right. Guess what? You got fired? Good. That clears up time for maybe you focus on your passion, for you to realize that that job wasn't for you. All right. Maybe, guess what? You're stuck in traffic. Good. Because now you get to get molded with patience. Now that patience, maybe when you're in a relationship and your lady, she's testing you. And I promise you, she will test you. Instead of giving in to your lower tendencies and your lower self, now you have that patience to remain in your functional adult, mature, and be like, I'm not going to react, but instead I'm going to be like, all right, let's talk about this. Tell me more about that. Here, let me tell you my end. And that training didn't come out of nowhere. It comes from that. It comes from that moment you were stuck in traffic. I was looking through Instagram, and again, the universe always talks to you. God always talks to you. And so, I saw this one thing that said that and where it goes, you ask for patience. So I made you wait, and I made your goal take longer. You asked for strength. So I gave you trials and tribulations. You asked for wisdom. So I gave you bad experiences so you can learn from them. Once you understand that's how life works and that is the purpose of problems, you're no longer going to run from them. It's going to happen and you're going to be like, good, because now I get to be better. Now I get to get better. And so we're going to end it with that. And it's so poetic because the whole idea of just get better, just be better every day, 1% better and better. It reminds me of Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant, passed away a few years ago. I met him in an elevator. I thought Jordan was my favorite basketball player, but actually it's Kobe Bryant. The reason why is because Kobe he really wasn't the fastest because Jordan was more talented. LeBron James, definitely physically more challenged. But Kobe Bryant was great because he relied on one thing, just work. Just work. Simple as that. He had the belief, if I can work to get better. And that's what I want you to do. And for him, his philosophy was simple. Every day, just try to be better than yesterday. And being that this year was 2024, Kobe number was 24, the year of the Mamba mentality. I figured that's a perfect way to end this year and end this podcast. And so with that said, my dear Velvet Man, I hope this year, getting a little worked up here. I hope this year was full of lessons. Whether you've realized it or not, the fact that you made it to this point is a blessing. It means you're survived. It means you're still undefeated. Yeah, you may have crawled through the finish line. Yeah, you got beaten up along the way. Yeah, you may have stopped. Yeah, you may have taken a break. Yeah, you may have taken some losses, but guess what? You're here. That means you survived. That means you're still undefeated. That means you have another chance. That means you have another opportunity to get better, to be better than yesterday. Because these problems, they're not ready for you, big dog. They're not ready for what you're about to become and for what you're about to do. With that said, I love you. I wish 2025 to be the best year ever. Here's some more health, more success, more love, more happiness, more adventures, and a whole lot more women. Till then, stay velvet out there. I'll catch you later.